Just like horses, donkeys need regular hoof care to keep their feet even, to help them not be lame. So we need to, as their pet owners, take care of teaching them and helping them be comfortable with picking up their feet. A donkey's foot is more upright than a horse's by 5 to 10 degrees. So when they're nice and trim, they will always look different than your horse's feet. Donkeys are known for their sure-footedness, and because of that, they can be harder to train to pick up their feet. Thus, they have that bad rap where I have heard stories of people having trouble finding a farrier that is willing to trim a donkey's feet. Now, I've always just used the same farrier who does my horse, my donkeys. My farriers have always done it all. Remember, it's not the farrier's job to train our donkeys. So get out there, help your donkeys be comfortable, work on picking up their feet a lot. I like to help them by putting their foot between my legs to help them understand. The farrier's going to do that later on. Using the rasp on their foot a little bit so they can get used to the vibration. Getting their foot up onto a farrier stand. All these things can be intimidating to your donkey. So we're going to walk through what to watch for with your donkey's body language and how to help them through all of this. I promise you can have your donkey picking up their feet just as good as any horse out there. We just have to work at it and practice, give them time to process and learn what we want from them. Something I don't think I understood very well when I first started doing this is how much trust matters. So if you're working with a wild donkey or a donkey that's new to you that maybe you haven't established trust yet with, that trust is going to come with time. But we're going to have to give them lots of experiences, lots of repetition, and eventually they're really going to understand that not only can they trust us, but they can also trust other people. When the opportunity presents itself for other people to pick up your donkey's feet, take advantage of that. It's going to help grow their trust over time. We want our donkeys to feel good, so keeping on a regular schedule with trimming your donkey's feet is going to be a great thing. It's going to keep their feet even, which is going to avoid having lameness issues in other parts of the body. If they have a long heel or a long toe or their hoof wall is uneven, it's going to affect them when they're walking, and it will indeed cause soreness in other areas. So keep them on a regular schedule. Typically, it's 6 to 8 weeks, and I typically just trust my farrier when I'm talking to him. I know I have a very trustworthy farrier, and I'm able to use his guidance for how often to be trimming. Pasture or dry lot care is also important for this. Donkeys come from the desert, guys. They like to have that dry, arid ground, rocky surfaces, and they would naturally wear down their feet out in the wild as they're moving around. But if they're kept in a dry lot or a pasture, they need to have that pasture, the dry lot. I guess I keep mine on a dry lot because I don't want them eating all kinds of grass. But if that is wet, wherever they're at, that can affect their feet also. It can make them soft and more likely to get different feet or foot diseases. There's many different diseases out there, so I'm not going to go through the different diseases that can affect their feet, but we don't want their feet soft. So make sure you're keeping your pasture, your dry lot cleaned up so that they have a dry area to be in. Somehow, for some reason, if there's a big wet area in there, they just like to stand in it. So keep their feet dry and that regular schedule for trimming. Did you know that a donkey, under the right circumstances, can hear another donkey's call up to 60 miles away? Wow, is that a long distance? Part of the reason a donkey is so sure-footed is because they can see all 4 of their feet at the same time. So they always know where they're setting that foot down to choose the best spot. Typically, under most circumstances, donkeys don't need to wear shoes. Their feet are very durable, very strong, and with the right care of their feet, nutrition. I've never had to put shoes on a donkey, and I've even gone to Arizona riding around in the desert on famous Seamus, and we didn't use shoes for that either. They have very strong, durable feet. They themselves are also stronger than a horse of the same size. Donkeys are very strong. Their muscles are built differently, as well as their bones are built differently, their structure. I've heard it described that a donkey's muscle mass is more like a ballerina. Donkeys can vary in size by a giant amount, from 28 inches tall all the way up to 68 inches tall. So to put that into hands, that converts to 7 hands tall all the way up to 17 hands tall. Yes, I did say that correctly, 17 hands tall. I find it very humorous when we take my husband's donkey, Honk the Donk, out riding, like we went caroling with her. We often get asked, what is she mixed with? And we're like, she's not mixed with anything. She's a donkey. And they're like, well, I wonder if she's got draft in her. Well, she doesn't, guys. She's just a donkey. Donkeys really can be that big. And you know who was the first one to have one? George Washington. He received some jackstock mammoth donkeys as a gift way back in the day. Mammoth donkeys now, American jackstock mammoth donkeys, are endangered. And from my research, it shows that they're critically endangered. Now, Daphne is not considered a mammoth. This is who we're working with here is Daphne. To be a mammoth donkey, a Jenny has to be 13.2 and a jack 14 hands. Now, that's just for a regular mammoth donkey. But to be an American jackstock mammoth donkey, a Jenny has to be 14 hands and a jack has to be 14.2. So one is 13 for a Jenny, 13.2 for one registry, and the other registry is 14. And then for the jack, for one registry, it's 14, and for the American jackstock mammoth, it is 14.2. And Daphne here is 12.3 is her height. Now, donkeys are measured in size, just like horses are, by hands, but because they don't have records of as many donkeys and where they come from, they've also just started calling them like mini, standard, it could be a small standard, large standard, and then mammoth. And each of those has their own height requirements showing where they fit into those guidelines. Mammoth donkeys, because they're not small, they can weigh a lot. So a mammoth donkey can weigh up to about 1,200 pounds. So when you see a big old donkey, you can know that it is a donkey. It's not mixed with anything else. Donkeys come from other donkeys. Mules, they have a dad that is a jack and a mom that is a mare horse. And then a hinny has a mom that is a donkey and a dad that is a stud male horse. All right, so I've rambled on enough. Let's go back to the feet. So teaching them to pick up their feet, you're going to spend lots of time just picking them up, cleaning them out with a hoof pick. And then in addition to that, putting those feet between your legs and using a rasp on the feet and getting those feet up onto something. Now, if you don't have a farrier stand, you could find something else to put their foot up onto just to get them used to the different movements with their feet, as well as introducing them to do this with other people around. We want to pay attention to if they're stiff. If they're stiff when you go to pick up their foot, they're not ready for it. So back up before they start to kick, guys, and you'll be able to keep growing with that trust so that you can have a good donkey and your farrier is going to be like, wow, I thought donkeys were hard to work with, but you're going to show them that they're not hard to work with at all. I used to wonder if Seamus would ever be good with his feet when we first brought him home. And now, guys, he's amazing. He stands like a statue. He lets the farrier do the job, and it's never a problem. Having patience with your donkeys pays off. There can be times where you could be working with them and you wonder if it's ever going to get there, if you're ever going to rock it with this. And you will, I promise. Keep watching, guys. Thanks for watching.